Okay, so just like with equations, after we started off with the basics, then we started making it a little bit trickier. So we're doing 1-step and then 2-step and then word problems. Okay, so it does get trickier from here. So just make sure you're following all of the steps. These steps are pretty much the same as solving equations. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my river. Okay. Then I know that I'm doing x plus 5. X plus 5. So I need to do the opposite of that. And I need to subtract 5 on both sides. And when I do that, I get x and then 6. And then just like your equal sign before, you bring down your inequality sign. And then from here, now I graph it. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know it's a greater than symbol, but it's not equal to, so that's an open circle. And since it's greater than, my arrow faces the right. Okay. What's a little different about example 2? What's a little different about example 2? I see that my variable isn't on the left. And that's okay for now. So let's still solve it how we normally would. And then we'll flip it once we get the answer. So draw the river. I see that it's subtracting. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Okay, so I'm left with D. Keep my inequality symbol how it is for now. And then this should be negative 13. But again, when I'm graphing, I need my variable first. So I need to flip-flop everything. So I need to flip everything, including my inequality symbol. So it's D is less than or equal to negative 13. And I'm just going to count down negative 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and negative 14. So again, your number line doesn't have to have 0, just wherever you put 13 and then just fill in the numbers around it. Okay, so I know since it's equal to that it's a closed circle, and I'm looking at my arrow. It's going to the... All right, so I want you to do 3 and 4 on your own. So take a moment and pause the video, do 3 and 4 on your own. All right, so you should have one closed circle at negative 5 going to the right. Nope, that's your left, my bad. One closed circle at negative 5 going to the left. And number 4 should be an open circle going to the left at negative 9. Okay, so let's look at this next part. Solving inequalities by multiplying and dividing. For the most part, this is all the same. However, there is one thing that's a little different. Okay, so when you multiply, or divide by a negative, and I'm going to make this bold and a different color because it's important. So when you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality symbol, I'm also going to put that in a different color. The inequality symbol gets flipped. Now this is also important. Okay, so when you divide by negative, your inequality symbol gets flipped or multiplied. Multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip-flop that inequality symbol, because remember, negatives are pretty much opposite operations. So we want to do the opposite inequality symbol. Okay. So that's the most important thing that a lot of you are going to forget, but I'm hoping we don't. So prove me wrong, okay? And don't forget that. So start with number 1. We draw the river. Okay, this is t divided by 5. So I do the opposite of division. I multiply both sides by 5. I get t is greater than or equal to 10, right? So you could number your number line. Okay. Then I know it's a closed circle going to the right. Okay. So that should have been pretty straightforward. You just do the opposite operation. All right, looking at number 2. I'm going to draw my river. I'm still just doing the opposite operation. This is multiplying, so I'm going to do the opposite and divide. Am I dividing both sides by positive 3 or negative 3? Hopefully you said negative 3. And hint, I'm dividing by a negative, so the inequality symbol gets flipped. So when I divide by a negative, the inequality symbol gets flipped. Okay, so what that means is this inequality symbol right here is getting flipped around. And that's again because I divided by a negative. Okay, so then I get y is now greater than negative 5. So that's important, because if you don't flip, then your graph is going the wrong way. All right, so let's put my negative 5 in. So number your number line, graph it out. Okay, this should be an open circle going to the right. All right, I want you to try 3 and 4. So do 3 and 4 and see what you get. Okay, so hopefully for number 3, you knew that you had to flip it because you were multiplying by that negative 4 on both sides. Then open circle going to the left. Now number 4, maybe you thought you had to flip it because my answer is negative. But it doesn't matter if my answer is positive or negative. It matters if I multiplied or divided by a negative. I divided by a positive 8. So I don't flip my sign, okay? So it doesn't matter what your answer is. It matters what we do in the process, okay? So that's important.